Chair, we are now live and on the on YouTube.
Let's call to order the Heritage Preservation Commission meeting of December 4th, 2024 at 7 p.m. The city does not tolerate disruptive behavior in our meetings. Sunnyvale prides itself on the rich diversity of our residents. We are committed to creating a culture of belonging where members of our diverse community feel included, safe, and respected. This Heritage Preservation Commission meeting is considered a limited public forum, which means the commission can regulate the time, place, and manner of speech. Speaker comments must be limited to the agenda item being considered by the commission for consent calendar or public hearing items. Speaker comments during oral communications must be limited to matters within the commission's authority, generally referred to as within the commission's subject matter jurisdiction. If a speaker's comments are not related to an agenda item, the presiding officer will rule the speaker out of order. A speaker will not be ruled out of order because of a disagreement with the content of their speech. Location and online meeting details are available on the Heritage Preservation Commission agenda. Use the Show Captions button to view captions on Zoom. Comments on matters not on the agenda must be submitted prior to the time I call the item for oral communications. Comments on agenda items must be submitted prior to the time I close the public hearing on the agenda item. Speakers are requested to keep their comments to the time period set for public comments for the agenda item, which will be strictly enforced. Guidelines are posted on the city's website and on the Heritage Preservation Commission meeting agenda. And now will you please join me for a salute to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now we'll move on to roll call. So we'll have our recording officer take the roll call for us, please.
Sure, Commissioner Garrett,
Present.
Commissioner McManus, Chair Johnson,
Present.
Commissioner Rajkumar, Commissioner Rawal, Commissioner Sharma,
Present.
Vice Chair Safair.
Present.
Chair, we have 5 present and 2 absent, with Commissioner Rajkumar and Rawal absent.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we'll be moving on to study session. And this is study session number 24-1197. And this will be discussion and consideration of naming ideas for the new city park currently referred to as Corn Palace Park. Is there a staff presentation?
Yes, there is. So good evening. My name is Tracy Gott, and I work with Library Recreation Services. So thank you for having me here tonight. So as you mentioned, we are looking to your commission, and we'll also be going to the Human Relations Commission next week for just some feedback and ideas around the discussion and consideration of naming ideas It's a very long title. For the new city park, referred to as Corn Palace Park. Oh, and it works. So I know you got some background material, but the vicinity map is just kind of highlighting where this development is. It's off of Lawrence and Toyon and Lily Avenue. And I think the expected completion of this park is going to be February or March of 2025. The background a little bit, if you didn't have a chance to read some of the materials that came with this, is that, it used to be a former agricultural land. It's been developed into single-family homes in some parts, and then the 2-acre portion for a mini park was acquired from the developer by the city. And it's really meant to serve residents within walking distance, about a quarter mile. So the amenities at this park are not like some of the bigger parks in Sunnyvale. There's, I think, Ponderosa Park, which is about a mile away from this park. So this is really a neighborhood park. A little bit on the site history. It used to be a family farm that was owned and operated by the Francia family since the 1920s. It was converted to farmland after World War II and operated continuously until 2015. The Corn Palace farm stand, the little pictures that you've seen, was constructed in 1965. And so that's probably why a lot of the language around here is the development known as the Corn Palace Park. It's referred to kind of this farm stand. The site plan, as I mentioned, it's really kind of a neighborhood park, so there's not a lot of, playground equipment, though I think there'll be some. There's going to be some exercise equipment. There's just really more of a gathering place for the neighborhood in that area. And so the naming policy really falls to the city council. We bring this to the Parks and Recreation Commission. They make recommendations to the city council, but this year we are doing something a little different where we're going to the Human Relations Commission and the Heritage Commission and kind of running through the ideas that we have and then bringing that feedback back to the Parks and Recreation Commission, who will then make a recommendation to city council. So the naming criteria, there's some more policies, but this is just kind of like a snippet of the policies. Is kind of the order that, number one, the greatest consideration is given to a name that has historical significance. Open space that was formerly school property or joined to a school, naming a park for an individual is kind of one of the last considerations, and then there's other name considerations. And I should note that the very top one where it says where the naming of the planning district is not possible, the following criteria will be given. And so in this case, the planning district for this park is Ponderosa. So I think this is kind of why we're looking at other alternatives. So what we do, or what I've done, is kind of ranked or kind of ordered these slides of kind of the ranking of the naming system. So the historical significance, and then we have some names for the planning, and then I have names for the school significance. So kind of based on that ranking. So the Corn Palace Park was one of the top names, and I actually sent a list of the names over to the Heritage Museum, and they held a meeting and kind of got feedback from their staff, and they unanimously chose Corn Palace Park. All the rest of the names on this list were previous names that were submitted by the Ohlone tribe, I believe, and that was for when they were naming Muwekma Park. So the Acorn Park, Manzanita Park, Tamian Park, those were prior names on a prior list. The planning district, Toyon Park, Daisy Park, Mize Park, they fall within kind of that range of names for so each area of the city is broken down either into like flowers and trees or birds. Yeah. So yeah, which I've learned a lot during this project. So if you go around the city, there's just certain names and certain categories. So Toyon, Daisy, and Mize, they're derived from that significance. And then the school significance, Peterson Park, it's the closest school close to that, and then San Miguel Park. And then other name considerations, these names kind of fall from the naming of Muwekma Park. So this was added onto the list from last time. So these just have kind of carried forward. So these were other name considerations. So really, what we're looking for from the commission is just your feedback on kind of how you feel about like your top 2 names. And we're just going to record that information and then take that forward. So if you've got the list, I think we had given you an attachment, or I can kind of go back, but I think I was just hoping to ask each of you, if you can just give me the top two names that speak to you as what it is. Oh, and where's it going? And if you have questions, we can have questions first and then go with the ideas. I should have made a copy.
Ms. Scott, if you could go back to the previous slide with the names, that would be helpful, the initial slide.
I know I should have made them all on one page and I didn't do that. So the historical significance is where we start with the naming suggestion.
We have a printed copy. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
And I have one here too, but this is good for me to learn.
Question, is there a name, whether formal or colloquial, for the neighborhood other than the planning district name?
Not that I know of. I think kind of this neighborhood, I want to say, has kind of been referred to the Corn Palace neighborhood because of the significance of like the farm stand being there, and it's always been, and I think in a lot of the planning documents, they call it the development, Corn Palace development.
I think the neighborhood overall is really identified by Ponderosa because of the elementary school there, and also the park that's adjacent to the elementary school is Ponderosa. But all the street naming convention is either flowers or trees in this area.
Oh, okay, we have other comments. Commissioner McManus, do you have a comment?
No. I mean, I can hear you, but you're not.
Light screen. There we go. Here we go. I'm on officially. So I looked at the discussions. Thank you very much. It was a great presentation. I read the backstory as well and some of this stuff. One of the things that occurred to me was that the choice of the farming corn on the land was significant from a memorial point of view. People remember it. It was a place that people would go and stop at the Corn Palace, which I did as well, and picked up fresh fruit. But as a historical aspect of it, I much preferred Acorn Park as the historical food of the Ohlone. I also thought if you wanted to sort of capture corn at the same time as the historical nature of the park, maize would be a good one, but I don't think the Ohlone grew corn in that area during their reign, if you will. So I prefer number one is acorn and number two is maize from my perspective.
Okay.
And I'm hoping there's a plaque. I noticed that there's a plaque at from the applicant, a proposed plaque that we might also have the Arts Commission talk about perhaps some public art that would honor the Corn Palace in the park, which would be sort of a touchstone for people who were there. So those are my comments.
I can take that feedback back
That's
to the arts.
all
I know
I
there's a plaque that is being built, but I don't know what is encompassing that.
right. That's all I ask.
Okay.
Thank you. Now we can call on Commissioner Sharma.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Scott, for the presentation. I too have had the privilege of frequenting Corn Palace over the years. In fact, I remember having conversations with Mr. Francia. I believe he was in his 90s. And at that time, I think this was 2014, 2015, he was thinking about retiring. So it's interesting to see the evolution of what actually happened to that land, because I frequent that area just in passing, and I was always wondering what happened, not knowing that he had sold it eventually to a developer. Now it's being developed into a park. So very interesting information. My feedback would be keep it as Corn Palace Park. I think that reflects the area. For folks that have been in the area at least 10 to 15 years, they know of Corn Palace. I think it's also a memorable name. Secondarily, I think Maze Park also works really well. It rolls off the tongue really, really well. It ties into corn as well, being the sort of forefather of corn, if you will. And the third suggestion I had, and this is just of my own, just a very simple, the gathering place. Because we need more of those. We need third places in our society today. And it's just a simple moniker. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to hear from Commissioner Garrett.
Thank you. So I just have a quick question. Besides Mwekma Park, are there other parks in Sunnyvale that are named to honor Native American heritage in the area?
Great question.
No.
I don't believe so. So I think this is kind of a new, well, not new. I think it's because there's a mini park within a park that's outside the planning district. There's other alternatives being considered.
Do you know if there is any plan for parks in the future to, be named for Native American heritage?
I think kind of as smaller neighborhood parks may be built in the future, they'll go off of this naming list. And so there could be that consideration. And so right now they kind of go off of that list. So I couldn't say yes or no because I think there's a lot of things that go into the naming.
Yeah, so I mean, with that in consideration, I generally agree with Commissioner Sharma that Corn Palace Park is kind of the most evocative name, and something that, residents of the area will have a lot of immediate tie to. With that said, I think, we should continue to try to find opportunities to honor the Native American heritage of the area through either future naming or potentially with this.
Thank you. And my comment is that I thought about this. I've really given it a lot of thought. And my answer is I want it to remain Corn Palace Park. It's that history. It's that there's something about it. There was a young man that told me the other day, I said, what part of Sunnyvale are you from? He said, I'm from Corn Palace and la, 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 so it was all about the feeling of the Corn Palace because the Corn Palace wasn't exactly anything that you want to save. It was a feeling like the cars lined up to drive up and get their produce. It's the agriculture of the day that Sunnyvale really embraced, and they did a really good job at it. So that's my comment. I think we've heard from all of the commissioners, and now is there any members of the public? Oh,
I don't think we've heard from Erin.
oh,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I
we
think,
heard
then
from
I
Erin.
think Michelle,
my-
the director of Library and Recreation Services, had maybe a comment.
If I may
Right.
just address Commissioner Garrett's comment about the park naming.
Okay,
My name is Michelle Pereira. I'm the Director of Library and Recreation Services. Thank you for having us here tonight. We are looking at the park naming policy and looking to revise it. So that is on our to-do list, which will probably give us a little bit more flexibility when it comes to Native American names or names that reflect the cultural diversity in the community. So that is coming up. It's just not quite there yet. Thank you.
thank you, Michelle. Councilmember Mellinger, you have any comments?
I am the council liaison for the Heritage Commission for this half of the year. I believe this is the first meeting this half of the year. So great to be with you all again for this one meeting. I did want to point out that as part of the Moffett Park specific plan, we are planning to add a substantial amount of new green space and parks. And so there will be many opportunities. To name things in the coming years as part of that work. So I just wanted to make sure that that's out there, but otherwise greatly appreciate the work you're doing. Apologies for being late and greatly appreciate the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment or have?
If I may, Chair.
Oh, excuse me.
I didn't give my top two, just had that one question. So this is Vice Chair Sofair. For my top two, My number one is definitely the Corn Palace Park. It is the Sunnyvale Heritage name for that area, from what I'm hearing. My number two would be Manzanita Park. I think that it would, I think the implied concerns in the naming suggestion slide of there being a Tamian Park and an Ohlone Park quite close by are reasonable. I mean, like having a park of the same name in Santa Clara where the two parks are in biking distance is a recipe for confusion. And I don't know, I just like Manzanita. It's a pretty word. Ends with a vowel sound going into the consonant start of park. So that's my top two.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your comments, everyone. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak on this topic? Okay. Then we shall move on to oral communications. This is now the public's opportunity to address the commission on topics not listed on tonight's agenda. This section is limited to 15 minutes and may be extended or continued after the public hearings, general business section of the meeting. Individuals may only speak once during oral communications. This Heritage Preservation Commission meeting is a limited public forum, and the commission can regulate the time, place, and manner of speech. Speaker comments during oral communications must be limited to matters within the commission's authority, which is known as the commission's subject matter jurisdiction. If a speaker's comments are outside the commission's subject matter jurisdiction, the presiding officer will rule the speaker out of order. This allows the commission to conduct its business in a reasonably efficient manner and protects the rights of other speakers. A speaker will not be ruled out of order because of disagreement with the content of their speech. Please submit a speaker card to the recording officer, raise their digital hand now, or dial *9 on the telephone to indicate you wish to speak. I will call on members of the public participating in person first. And I see we have no individuals participating in person.
Chair, we do not have any individuals on our Zoom call either.
Okay. No speakers on phone. Okay. Okay. Then I will go ahead and close oral communications. And we will now open consent calendar. So on consent calendar, we have second item of our agenda. It's item 24-1201. And that is to approve the draft Heritage Preservation Commission meeting minutes of October 2nd. So we have no one here for public comments. And we have no one participating remotely.
Chair, if you could ask for a motion on this item, please.
Okay,
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I second the motion.
okay. Commissioner McManus has approved the consent counter and Commissioner Zafar has seconded that.
Chair, I'll go ahead and conduct the vote to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Commissioner Garrett,
I abstain.
Commissioner Rawal is absent. Commissioner Sharma?
Abstain.
Commissioner Rajkumar is absent. Commissioner McManus? Chair Johnson
Approve.
and Vice Chair Sfer.
Approve.
Chair, we have 3 yeses, 3 abstain with Commissioner Rawal and Rajkumar absent. Sorry, we have 2 abstaining with Commissioner Rawal and Commissioner Rajkumar absent. So it's a 3, 2, and 2.
Okay, so,
The motion passes.
okay.
And it passes.
Thank you. All right. So now we're going to move on to public hearings and general business. You are out of order. You are out of order. Oops. Public hearing. Okay. We're moving on to our next item. Nobody's out of order. All right. This is item 24-1194, and that's to approve the Draft Heritage Preservation Commission 2025 Master Work Plan. Do we have a staff report about this?
I don't have a staff report, but I'd like to share the work plan, please. My name is Momoko Ishijima. I'm the senior planner in Planning Division. Mr. Mariano, if you could please put the work plan on the screen. So January 1st of 2025 is our first Wednesday. And since it's the new year, we had to push the January meeting back. And because since we moved into City Hall, we can only use one room at a time for each commission meeting. And I just want to add to that this room will no longer be utilized, and we're moving into the I think it's called the Redwood Room next door, starting next week. I think the commission meetings will be happening. So the next available date for Heritage Preservation Commission was January 23rd, which is a Thursday. So I hope that works for you. And we will be having this meeting on the 23rd. There are a couple of items that will be on the agenda. One is we have the public review draft for the technological innovations in Sunnyvale, which will be in like a recommendation for addition of the inventory to the Heritage Resource Inventory. So our consultants have prepared a report. It's really interesting, very interesting, and they do have a short list of sites that they are recommending to be added to the inventory. So that will be coming on the January meeting. And also the ranking of the study issues. Right now, we only have one issue, but that will be happening in January. And then the rest are meetings that will be required as needed. We'll have some meetings in the summertime for recognition of service and also selection of chair and vice chair. And then towards the end of the year with some of the other items that are listed. We do have several projects that are also in consideration right now. So there's a couple of projects that are on the Heritage Resource Inventory right now that will be redeveloped. One property that would like to be taken off the list. There may be also some other commercial properties that might be coming before you for review. So once that's scheduled, we will notify you and let you know that what month it'll be scheduled for.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good information. Yes.
Hi, Thanks, Memo. Excellent. My question was one of the commercial properties. I noticed they're redeveloping the Fry's #1 lot that was Fry's Electronics. Is that on the list?
The Fry's property is not on the list, but I think it was acquired by Applied Materials, and they have a large project going on their campus right now. And that Fry's property, I think, is being used to stage the construction material and the people that are, the construction crew that's needed. And I think they probably
Right.
have to have some type
Well,
of.
we drove by it today and I thought, Fry's is a pretty influential part of Sunnyvale's technology heritage and whatnot. So I just wanted to know if it was on the list. Thank you.
I agree that that's a site that we should remember. The first Fry's was in Sunnyvale, not that particular location, but it was Sunnyvale. And there should be something like a little model of the Fry's sign that was the heartbeat. And I was actually there when they stopped the heartbeat. It was quite memorable. But there should be something that shows that there was a heartbeat there. And they could put a very nice sign right there on Applied Materials property.
I will share that information with the planner.
Okay, do we have any other comments? Any other commissioners have comments? Oh, yes. Chair Sharma has comments.
Actually, I have a comment that's non-agenda related. Is that all right at this point to bring up?
So if we could get a motion for the approving the work plan first, that would be.
Yeah.
Before
you.
that, I would just like to chime in and say that if there is anything that the commission would like to do next year that is not on the work plan, this is your opportunity to discuss that.
There was some talk earlier this year with the commission of doing walking meetings or otherwise visiting some of the heritage resources ourselves. I don't have a strong opinion about that, but it was brought up during the year more than once, and I thought that if we're going to approve the work plan, it should be knowing that this is not something we plan on integrating into the work of the commission.
So if I could just get a clarification, do you mean that you would have a walking tour of heritage sites as part of the HPC agenda or meeting?
I think a lot of different ideas were floated for what purposes this could serve. There was a suggestion from a commissioner whose name I can't remember, that the commission could visit some of these sites and consider recommending them being removed or otherwise updated in the registry, for example. I think that if there's anything that it would be useful for the commission to do that would fit within that structure. I know there are commissioners who said that they would very much like to do that sort of thing.
Oh, okay, that's a good comment. I think we would have to clarify what our purpose would be in doing this. I know,
Agreed.
I agree that there's a lot that we need to do on the heritage resources inventory, and this technology thing is huge. It's really good to have that taken care of, or at least on the books right now anyway. I
think for the coming year, it's likely that this will simply be something that we left follow, that if people did want to do it, nobody took initiative.
Mm. Well, okay, but let me just say that if we do want to do this, then I will make sure that our council member liaison decides that we're not violating any Brown Act by doing whatever we're doing. So, sure. You push your button.
Thank you. So if I might ask the chair's indulgence to table the current discussion briefly, and I'd like to make a motion that we approve the current work schedule with the follow-on that we will provide a suggestion to planning about how to pursue this discussion, or perhaps put it on the meeting agenda for next meeting. So just the motion to approve the work schedule as the annual work plan as presented, and a brief tabling of the discussion about moving on to the walking tour stuff. Thank you.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
Yeah,
I did actually had a comment about the previous discussion. So before we have a motion for approval, may I jump
Sure.
in? So Vice Chair, so far I recall that conversation about the walking tour as well. I recall at least 2 or 3 times we talked about over the previous year. I do recall the Brown Act being one of the stopgaps in allowing us to do that. I think where we ended, my recollection was that we would individually tour the heritage list as it stands right now before the revision next year. And at most, I believe 2 individuals could still meet without violating the Brown Act. So if we want to tag team with one other person to do the walking tour, that we still could. So I have actually done a walking tour, a self-guided walking tour. It was very eye-opening, very informative for me. It allowed me to understand where our current inventory resides. I would highly encourage, particularly the newer members of the commission, to do that as well. So we are not, held up by any time frame in order to do that. Particularly because next year we need to start looking at the new recommendations for the inventory.
Right.
So those were my recommendations. I'm sorry to interject before the motion, but I
No.
wanted to follow up on that.
Great comments.
And
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Sharma basically took the words out of my mouth. So I'll second the motion to approve the work plan.
All right, thank you. So we have Commissioner Sharma, who has approved the motion.
Second. The motion has been put forward and seconded. Do we get a roll call vote for that?
Yes, we do. Chair, I'll go ahead and conduct the vote. Be Vice Chair Safair,
Approve.
Commissioner Garrett,
Approve.
Chair Johnson,
Approve.
Commissioner McManus, and Commissioner Sharma. Chair, we have 5 yeses and 2 absences. The motion passes.
Okay. But it's to be continued. We're going to continue discussion about the work plan. Is that correct? I mean,
think-
at a later meeting, we're going to.
Do we want to yeah, that seems like a thing to discuss at a later meeting, not right now.
Yeah, I agree. Then we can each kind of bring whatever preparations you want ahead of time for that.
Yeah. With regret, Council Member Mellinger, it appears that we did not come prepared with a list of things we wanted to add to the work plan.
I will just say that most commissions simply approve the staff recommended work plan. I always point that out during the work plan meeting because that is the time. That is the most opportune time if there is something that you want added to bring it up. Otherwise, it has to go through a mid-year approval process, which is more cumbersome.
Mhm.
Thank you. And it is perfectly fine and encouraged to approve the staff recommended work plan.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
As an informational question, what is the usual process for if the commission would like to add something to next year's work plan? So for example, if over the course of 2025, we wanted to add something to the 2026 work plan, what would be the usual process? Would that qualify, would that be bound up? I presume there would be a different process than for potential study issues.
So if you can take a look at our agenda, there is a line item after the public hearing item that says standing item consideration of potential study issues. So that would be the appropriate time for you to bring that up. And I believe this is listed in every agenda.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out. That's important information. Yes, go ahead, Commissioner McManus.
This is my question for planning. So, as I understand it, the work plan is the meeting schedule when we have the meetings, and the agenda items is actually separate from the work plan. That agenda items can be added to the meetings that are scheduled asynchronously. So we could as a commission say we want to add an agenda item to discuss walking tours, for example, at the February meeting, which would then take it from an optional meeting to there's now an agenda item for it, so we should have that meeting. Am I correct in that understanding?
So
I can cut in here. So there's a couple things here. There is something in the rules for commissioner-led presentations. You talk to your staff liaison. I believe that would be Ms. Ishijima or Mr. Mariano. And so the Sustainability Commission makes great use of commissioner-led presentations. For actual agenda items or study sessions, the way it works, you're not authorized to put items on your agenda on your own.
Okay.
You have a meeting with your staff liaison, you ask, if they agree, it can go on the meeting. If they disagree, you can appeal to council or the city manager. But typically a modification to the work plan, which is not just the meeting schedule, it is the items to be heard on the agendas, requires approval of staff or city council.
All right.
thank you, Council Member. So I think, yeah, if you do have a idea for a commissioner-led presentation or an idea to be added to the agenda, if you can reach out to Mr. Mariano or I, and we would discuss it with the planning directors and let you know.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Good comments, good questions. Anyone else? All right. Then we shall move on to the fourth item, which is 24-1195, the annual review of Code of Ethics and Conduct for elected and appointed officers. Do we have a staff report for this?
I do not have a staff report for this. This is just to request that you acknowledged reviewing and reading the information. I think there is a form at the end of the Code of Ethics, and if the city clerk requires you to complete that, they will reach out to you. But if we could if you have any questions, please ask the questions, and I will try to answer it. But otherwise, if we could have a motion to acknowledge that you have reviewed the information.
Okay, it's very well done, and I actually read the whole thing this time around, and I learned some things. So if you haven't read it, it's a good thing to read. And this is something that we don't vote on this.
We will be asking for a vote.
Yeah, I moved that we approve this item.
Oh, okay.
Seconded.
Okay, so Commissioner Garrett approved, Commissioner Sofar seconded. I, my understanding was that we didn't take a vote for this. Can you help me out here, Councilmember Mellinger?
You do take a vote.
do
I
take a vote.
remember when I was chairing commissions, this was always a slightly odd item, but essentially you are voting to acknowledge that you accept, that you have read and accept the code of ethics.
Okay, I see.
Um,
Thank you. Thank you for the right wording. Commissioner Sharma, do you have your hand up? Oh, okay. 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 All right, then we're going to have a vote. So,
Chair, I'll go ahead and conduct the vote.
yes, thank you.
Commissioner Sharma,
Thank you. Approve, understood the code of ethics. Thank you.
Vice Chair Safar,
Approve and understood.
Chair Johnson,
I approve and have read and understand.
Commissioner McManus,
I accept and approve. Thank you.
I need Commissioner Garrett.
Yeah, I approve as well. Understand.
Chair, we have 5 yeses with Commissioners Raj Kumar and Rawal absent. The motion passes.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next on the agenda is actually what was pointed out by our council, our staff liaison, is the standing item consideration of potential study issues. So we'll remember that that's always on our agenda. So we'll make use of that. And the next item is for non-agenda items and comments. The next portion of the agenda is for oral reports and announcements by commissioners and staff to share information. Do commissioners have any non-agenda items or comments?
Joey, can you turn on the commissioner's mics?
I don't know how to turn it on.
Thank you, Mr. Mariana. So the non-agenda item comment that I have was regarding the park that's in downtown where we have the heritage redwood trees. Currently, it's a beautiful park. I had a chance to walk through it. My recollection was when it went through the Heritage and Preservation Commission was one of the trees had to be cut down in order to build the park out, and that we had motioned for the developer to install a plaque. And as I walked through the park, I did not see that plaque. And so my question was to Ms. Ishijima, is that in progress currently? What's the status of that?
The last time I walked through the park, it wasn't like a bronze plaque, but there was a description of the park on one of the, I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's a statue or it's some type of an installation.
It looks like a thing that should have a plaque on it, but it doesn't have a plaque on it.
Yeah, but I
like
think
a
there's some
novel.
description related to, and I don't know if that matches the information that was presented at the presentation that the developer provided, but I can follow up.
There were a lot of things about the trees. The description as we saw it was very, very detailed. And it was what tree was cut down for what purpose, like something happened to one. But anyway, it should all be in the plaque when the plaque gets installed.
I can follow up to see if that is happening or has happened and where it is.
Thank you. That would be great. It could just have been my eyes that overlooked the existing plaque, but I searched for it actually, and I sat on the redwood benches and I looked around. I couldn't find that description. Because such a legendary tree was taken down, I just wanted to make sure that was acknowledged in that park. And we have so few there as it exists currently. So follow-up would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Any staff comments?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Then I think we have reached the time for adjournment. So the meeting of the Heritage Preservation Commission meeting is now ending at 7:50 p.m. And I want to thank everyone for your participation in tonight's meeting.
Gotta bang the gavel.
It's official. Yeah, this is new, this adjournment thing. Thank everyone for your participation in tonight's meeting. That's nice.
Yeah, well, you can